Hey everyone, I'm going to quickly show you how I do nose work for my clients. So I have a bunch of boxes. They're of all different shapes and sizes, and you want to be really careful as to whether or not a box like this is too deep for either a small dog or a dog that's fearful. And if that's the case, and that's the only box that you have, you could potentially lean it on its side like this. But the whole idea is to spread the boxes in a small search area to start. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like. And then you're going to place a really stinky high value treat inside each box. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Got a bunch of boxes. I want to make sure that every single box has it so that the dog gets access to the reinforcer inside every box. So we're basically communicating boxes predict really good yummies. And I'm setting them up close together so that the dog can just get a reinforcer, see another box, get a reinforcer, see another box. And it's at this point, your dog might be visually seeing the boxes, and that becomes the cue. But at some point, we make this a little bit harder. They start to drop in and use their nose. Some dogs might use their nose right away, while other dogs are visually seeing the boxes, and that's totally fine. So we've got Tucker waiting in the wings. So I'm going to stand up. Go ahead. And I'm not really going to engage with this dog because I don't want him to engage with me. I want him to drop into his environment and do what he's born to do, use that stinking nose. And if I walk around, it's to reload boxes, and if he sees me reloading, it's fine. I could do it secretively by just tossing really lightly. That is like the top of a fish head and it's the eye. It's so creepy. So what you can see that's happening out of frame is that Tucker is engaged with a box and he wound up knocking it over with his nose, and now he's really using his nose and not necessarily his eyesight. So he went back to a box where he was successful using his nose, drop back in. That is a narrow, tall box. And so that could be really scary to put your whole head inside something like that. So I'm just gonna, whoop. So one of them landed outside of the box, which, whoop, he got it. So notice I'm not really engaging with him. I'm not cueing him to do anything. If he were to look up to me for information, I really just want to be here and be somewhat boring so that, again, he drops into something that has more value. And I think you can see he's using his nose right now. Now, if the dog became really frustrated offering a bunch of behaviors, I might walk them over to the box, drop one in, just so that we don't have an association of frustration with this game. I don't want the dog to be hanging in the wings waiting for some more information. I want to take a moment to just take a break, wait and see if the dog will re-engage. If he continues to get frustrated and either starts barking or throwing behaviors at me or whatever that is, I really don't want to keep them in that state, so I will drop treats over and help them out. Tucker doesn't need any of this help. He's just really dropped in. What are you doing? So there's some treats under the flaps, and that's why he was troubleshooting. And now a bunch of different ways to make this harder depends on the dog and depends on the situation. So what I you want to start to change one variable at a time just so that it's easy on the dog. So I might place a hide right next to the box. So I might make sure that all the boxes have something really, really yummy. I'm reloading the boxes. He sees me, but then maybe I decide to leave a few right outside the box. Because ultimately the goal, so sometimes that can get stuck, so this is why I'm just assisting. This dog is not worried about most things, so it's probably not necessary. However, oh yeah. Another way that we could do this, even before we put treats outside. I mean, I think I'm putting treats outside just because he's pretty professional at this. But we could make the search area larger, and again use the same number of boxes. We can start to put hides outside of the box. We can start to minimize the number of boxes and maximize the number of hides that you're actually placing. But for me, the reason why I use the boxes is because one, it is just this really great environmental cue for the dog to say, oh, okay, boxes always predict something really, really good. And then eventually they just naturally start to sniff out other areas. And then what I typically do is when we get the game down to like 1 or 2 boxes and then the rest are like 8 or 10 hides in the environment, then what we could do is we could take the boxes as like training wheels to other locations to give the dog something to do when they show up, and to help them move in a slower, more methodical way, not be so overstimulated. And this is, like I was mentioning on the enrichment talk, this is what I use for a lot of my dogs that are reactive to their environment. Instead of them showing up and becoming hyper alert, we show up and then we give them something to focus their attention on the ground and start sniffing and engage in a really species typical behavior instead of alerting and scanning their environment. So that's it. Super simple. And you can't really screw this up, really. I mean, if your dog is not finding it, then maybe make something easier. You can also, I have some clients make box puzzles where they'll put a hide in here and then they'll put something here. Come here, Tom. I hope you guys enjoy. If you have questions, let me know.